Hi everyone, it's Katrina. There was never a dull moment with the Knights Templar. Their mysteries and secret ways continue to this day. Were they moving gold through secret tunnels 800 years ago? Join me as I explore some of the most incredible archaeological discoveries from around the world, from the weird to the shocking. Secret Tunnels of the Templars. An extraordinary discovery in Israel is revealing secrets of the legendary Knights Templar. Archaeologists have found evidence of underground tunnels that were used by Christianity's most famous warriors 800 years ago. The tunnels were likely used to transport huge amounts of treasure to the Templars' famous Tower of Gold. The incredible discovery was made in the coastal city of Accra, where the Templars once had their base of operations. Archaeologists led by American researcher Dr. Albert Lynn were responsible for the remarkable find. According to Dr. Lynn, the Knights Templar fought for gold, glory, and God throughout the Crusades. And today, in the modern city of Accra, hiding beneath the foundations of apartments and businesses, is their old command center. Dr. Lynn doesn't know exactly where it is, and neither does anybody else. But he believes that it's somewhere underground, and that it could contain unprecedented Christian treasures. During the Third Crusade, the Knights Templar used an epic coastal fortress as one of their main operating centers. It likely wasn't Templar HQ, but it was still a key stronghold. Dr. Lynn and his team used laser technology to scan where the stronghold once stood, hoping to find some trace of Templar history underground. And sure enough, they found the remains of tunnels under the city. The team was able to digitally map the tunnels using 3D models, revealing a forgotten network of passageways. It's now believed that these passages were used to move massive quantities of gold from the port to a fortified tower that was located somewhere in the city. Unfortunately, though, archaeologists can't just go down into those tunnels without destroying the modern city above. So, whatever secrets might be contained within the subterranean corridors will remain a mystery, maybe for another 1,000 years. And now for number 7. But first, I want to give a big shout out to Lady Serafina G. Hope you have a wonderful lunch and holiday. And Tess Grutter, thanks so much for watching and spending time with us. If you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the family. Captain Cook's boat. A shipwreck was recently found off the coast of Rhode Island. According to scientists at the Australian National Maritime Museum, the shipwreck once belonged to legendary explorer Captain James Cook. The wreckage is that of the HMS Endeavour, a vessel with the British Royal Navy that participated in the Revolutionary War of the 18th century. This boat is incredibly famous and has a lot of historical strings attached to it. Captain Cook famously sailed on the Endeavour as he charted the coast of Australia and New Zealand in 1770. It was a key moment in the age of exploration, and the beginning of a European world at the bottom of the globe. After being a brave explorer, Cook went on to participate in the American War of Independence on the side of the British. The Endeavour was used to transport British troops to the front lines right up until 1778, when it sank somewhere in Newport Harbor. There were 4 other British ships down there somewhere, lying under at least 120 feet of water. 2 years ago, the Australian Museum confirmed that the shipwreck is definitely the HMS Endeavour. They found a boat at the bottom of the harbor, but scientists in the US refused to accept the claims without irrefutable proof. Now, though, the museum has doubled down, claiming that they've confirmed beyond any doubt that the wreckage is that of Captain Cook's sunken boat. Researchers say they identified a pump well and a piece of the ship's bow, both of which confirm this was the legendary Endeavour. If this is true, it's a big deal because scientists have been searching for the wreckage since 1999. I should mention that after Captain Cook left America, he went back to exploring. He was adventuring across the Hawaiian Islands in 1779 when he was captured by local tribesmen and killed. Tyrian Purple. If your favorite color is purple, you're going to be very happy about this next discovery. For 1,000 years, a very specific shade of purple was the most valuable color in the world. It was coveted by queens, kings, and emperors. But then it disappeared. Just like that, the recipe to make Tyrian purple was lost. In 2002, within the ruins of an ancient palace that was discovered in the heat of the Syrian desert, archaeologists made an incredible discovery. They delved into the tomb of a forgotten royal and came across some splotches that looked like stains. And there was a lot more within the tomb. The door had been sealed for the past 3,000 years. Inside the crypt were over 2,000 relics, everything from jewels to a massive golden hand. The dark splotches on the ground were particularly intriguing. When the archaeologists sent a sample of the substance for testing, it turned out to be a unique purple pigment. The team had inadvertently discovered one of the most valuable commodities of the ancient world. Tyrian purple was coveted by everyone with enough money to pay for it. For example, Queen Cleopatra was obsessed with the color, so much so that she used it to paint the sails of her boat. Roman emperors were so protective of the purple hue that any commoner wearing it on their clothes could be put to death. And according to texts from 301 AD, Tyrian purple sold for more than 3 times its weight in gold. The process of making the purple pigment was lost around the 15th century. People across the Mediterranean region have been trying to recreate it for years, but even in modern times, it's proved impossible. All anybody knew was that the process involved a translucent secretion from 3 species of sea snail. Scientists are getting closer though, and discovering the substance on the floor of a royal tomb has been a huge help. Some have produced colors they feel are similar to Tyrian purple, but even now, the exact chemical composition remains unknown. The Apocalypse Stone. There is a mysterious stone at the oldest temple in the world that could be evidence of an ancient apocalypse. You may have heard of Göbekli Tepe before, the temple discovered in Turkey that dates back 11,500 years. It offers the earliest known evidence of a permanent human settlement anywhere in the world. Right now, it's being speculated by scholars around the globe that Göbekli Tepe was the real-life Garden of Eden. But the truth is that nobody knows how the temple was built or by whom. Biblical scholars, however, seem to think that Göbekli Tepe could be evidence of a civilization that existed prior to the flood. But let's forget about the site as a whole and focus on the stone. It's called the Vulture Stone, and upon its grainy surface is a mystery. There are animal symbols all over the stone, including multiple birds, an ibex, and a scorpion. Then, at the very bottom of the monument is the image of a man with no head. Archaeologists have been struggling for quite a while now to make sense of the images on the ancient stone pillar. It's believed that the animals could correspond to constellations. The scorpion would obviously be a representation of Scorpio. There's a wolf drawing that could represent Lupus. There's even a circular shape in the middle of the stone that looks suspiciously like the sun. Scientists ran with this theory. They interpreted the symbols as constellations and ran them through computer simulations. The simulations showed that the symbols could coincide with a time when the constellations and sun were in alignment. And now researchers seem to think that the carvings could be telling the tale of a comet impact that devastated the world. The headless man at the bottom of the Vulture Stone would be a representation of death. If there was a comet impact that occurred around 11,000 years ago, it's possible that the disaster could have triggered a flood. That flood could be the natural disaster that the Bible tells us about. Not only the Bible, but pretty much every other religious book in the world. The people of Göbekli Tepe may have witnessed the comet entering the atmosphere and recorded it on the Vulture Stone. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. The Dago Sword. Inside a Japanese burial mound, archaeologists unearthed the most epic sword you've ever seen. This thing was huge, looking like it was wielded by an anime character. It dates back 1,600 years, and it was used to ward off evil in the afterlife. How big do you think this sword could possibly be? I mean, what's the longest sword you can even imagine being forged in the real world? The Japanese blade is almost 8 feet of solid iron, making it taller than almost everyone. You need to be a literal giant to wield this thing in combat. However, it pains me to say it, the massive weapon was likely never used in combat. It's an artifact known as a Dago sword. traditionally buried with a dead person to protect them from evil in the underworld. The weapon was way too heavy and impractical to be wielded in a fight. The burial mound was excavated near the city of Nara, which functioned as the capital of Japan in ancient times. Archaeologists found a mirror shaped like a massive shield as well, an artifact they say was also used to ward off evil. The bronze mirror weighs a whopping 12 pounds, making it the biggest of its kind ever found in the country. Kosaku Okabayashi from Nara's Archaeological Institute said the artifacts are beyond what anyone had imagined. Kosaku called them masterpieces in metalwork. They are evidence that during Japan's Kofun period between 250 and 538 AD, metalsmiths were at the top of their game. There are an estimated 160,000 burial mounds from the Kofun period. These things dot the country and are full to the brim with treasure, though unfortunately, many of them remain lost. How would you like to have a Daco sword of your very own? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, be sure to subscribe. The Two-Faced Men. Peru is most famous for the Inca Empire that dominated its highlands 500 years ago. But 1,000 years before the Inca, there was a much different civilization called the Moche. They dominated the northern coastline of Peru and had their own distinct culture. Archaeologists investigating the ruins of one of the Moche's monumental cities have just made an unusual yet exciting discovery. This is the ancient Peruvian equivalent of the Batman villain Two-Face. In the city of Panamarca, archaeologists found a pair of murals depicting two-faced men wearing golden headdresses. In one mural, there is a man with two faces holding a feather and a goblet. In the other mural, there is a man with two faces holding a feather and an unknown object. Both of the murals are 1,400 years old, and each of them is incredibly impressive for several reasons. Surviving the test of time with vibrant colors, these artifacts have captivated archaeologists not just for their longevity, but also for their distinctive uniqueness. According to Jessica Ortiz Zeballos, who was involved in the project, the two-headed men have never been seen anywhere else in Moche artwork. For that matter, they have never been seen anywhere else in Peru. So who were they? Were these two-headed gods worshipped by the Moche? Or did they have some other vague religious significance? The answer to the riddle was lost with the Moche over 1,000 years ago. Archaeologists have been excavating the ruins of Panamarca for more than 5 decades and have found other examples of baffling artwork. They have discovered murals of bats and serpents, as well as others depicting exotic priestesses performing sacrifices. But the two-faced men might just be the most mysterious yet. There is definitely a story behind the figures, but sadly, it might never be revealed. King Tut's folding chair. When King Tut's tomb was opened in 1922 by famed Egyptologist Howard Carter, a lot of crazy things were found covered in dust and cobwebs. King Tut had 6 chariots buried with him and heaps of wine. Archaeologists discovered a dagger made from a piece of space rock, and they even found what looked like a camping bed that was specially designed for King Tut's outdoor adventures. But what I want to talk about today is a chair. It's one of the most boring objects ever pulled from an Egyptian tomb, yet it's also impossibly captivating. This simple folding chair is in remarkable condition after spending 3,300 years locked in an underground stone room. The chair may have once been sat upon by Tutankhamun himself, which makes it priceless. King Tut ruled Egypt between 1333 and 1323 BC. He was sort of inbred and disabled, and he died when he was just a young man, either from malaria or a drunk chariot driving accident. King Tut was married to his sister, which was normal back then, and didn't make it past the age of 19. A whopping 5,000 items were buried with him. Everything from sandals to entire thrones. All of it was stuffed into a deep underground tomb like a hoarder's overflowing storage locker. The folding chair is pretty cool because it looks like any chair you might find in a furniture store today. It was covered in gold leaf, decorated in ivory, and it had precious stones embedded on it. The seat was also made from spotted animal skin, likely from some exotic beast in ancient Africa. The Lord Palace of the Kings. The Lord Palace of the Kings is a place that looks like it's straight out of a fairy tale. The majestic palace stood upon a hill overlooking the ancient Sumerian city of Girzu 4,500 years ago. Archaeologists just discovered the palace's ruins in Iraq. The director of the British Museum, Hartwig Fisher, said it was one of the most fascinating ancient places he'd ever visited. The city of Girzu was one of the first truly human metropolises. It was established around 3,500 BC, and from within the walls of the city came the first codes of law and the first system of writing. Its ruins have been known to the world for almost 150 years, but because of its remote location in the Iraqi desert, it's been plundered mercilessly. Unfortunately, illicit excavations have resulted in a massive loss of artifacts. Other fantastic things have been found in the city as well. A temple dedicated to the god Ninirsu was uncovered at the same time as the palace. Researchers also excavated over 200 cuneiform tablets that were inscribed with administrative records from the earliest days of the city. When these tablets have finally been decoded and translated into English, they'll reveal the intricate workings of Girzu's government. Sadly, though, the palace isn't much to look at today. It was once the seat of power for the kings of kings, the rulers of Mesopotamia. Now, all that lingers are the beige stone remnants of a bygone era, where centuries of secrets have been whisked away by the wind. So hopefully you have a great imagination. Thanks for watching! Which of these incredible archaeological discoveries did you like the most? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and come back soon. Bye!